Okay, so we are going to go over a couple of composition problems so that hopefully when you see these on a test, they won't scare you and you will be a little bit more comfortable with them. So let's get right into it. I am given two functions, f of x and g of x, and I am asked to find the value of g of f of -1. This is a composition question, which means that I'm going to put these functions together in some way. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to look at my big function here. My big function is the g because it's on the outside. So my function at the end is going to look like this. And every time I see x, I'm going to replace it with f of x. Okay? So if I have g of f of x, it's going to look like this. I'm going to see my x. See my x, and I'm going to replace x with 2x squared minus 7x plus 3, and then plus 2. So all I did was look at what g of x looks like, and then I plugged f of x inside of it. So all of this went into here. Now it says find f of -1. So all I need to do is plug in -1 for all of these. All this means is that whenever I see x now, I plug in -1. That's equals 2. So this x becomes a -1 squared minus 7. This becomes a -1 plus 3 plus 2. And now I solve, because this is going to give me a value now. I have no variables. So let's go ahead and work it out. On the inside, I have 2 times -1 squared. Well, -1 squared is 1 times 2. And -7 times -1 is a positive 7 plus 3. I have to remember to bring my parentheses down and my positive 2 over here. This becomes 2 plus 7 plus 3. And now I can distribute, well, no, I'm going to add everything inside. So 7 plus 3 plus 2 is 12. And then I distribute my negatives, so this becomes a -12 plus 2. -12 plus 2 is -10. So we have g of f of -1 is equal to -10. Another way you could have done this, is just find straight off the bat what f of -1 is. All that means is I plug in -1 for all of my x's. So this becomes -1 squared minus 7, -1 plus 3. And if I work this out, it becomes 2 plus 7 plus 3. It's right here, which is 12. So now I know that f of -1 is 12. Well, now all I have to do is plug in 12 for my f of -1 in my original function. So this is the same as this. And now g of 12 just means that I take g of x, which is that function up there, write negative, and then when I see x, I put 12 plus 2. And from there, we can see that g of 12 equals -10, which is the same answer. So you will get the same answer either way. It's whichever way is more comfortable for you. If it's easier for you to work out a piece of it and then plug it back in than it is to put it all together and work it out all together, then do it that way. Let's do one more. Or maybe not. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, so we'll bring it back in here. So this one gives me two other functions, right? And I am asked to find g of f of 1. So I have g of x and f of x, and I want to find g of f of 1. So again, I'm going to look at my function, g of f of 1. We're going to do it the other way this time, the second way that I showed you. I'm going to look at f of 1. So that means that when f of 1 going to do is I'm going to write this function again, and I'm going to replace x with 1. Okay? F of 1 becomes -3 plus 4. That means that f of 1 equals 1. Now I take this and plug it in here, because this gives me g of f of 1. Right? Well, I know what g of f of 1 is. It's just 1. So whenever I see an x now, I plug in, oops, that's not an x, not anymore, that is a 1 squared plus 7, 1 plus 5. I need to kind of distract myself from that. So 1 squared is 1, 7 times 1 is 7, plus 5. This becomes 12 plus 1 is 13. So that means that g of f of 1 is 13. And I can work it out the other way if I so choose by writing this whole thing together. I think that's a better technique when you're learning how to put these functions together, to write that all out so that you see what's going on. I'm just going to write it all out real quick. G of f of x is, I look at my outside function, which is g of x, so it's going to be x squared, but I'm going to replace the x with f of x. So now I have -3x plus 4 squared plus 7. I see another x, so I'm going to write -3x plus 4 plus 5. So basically, this is g of x, with every x replaced with what f of x is. F of x, again, is -3 plus 4. So whenever I see an x, because remember this was x squared, this was 7x, it becomes -3x plus 4 squared plus 7 times -3x plus 4 plus 5. And again, this one is a little bit more complicated, but it's better for learning how the composition works. I recommend that if they give you a value for one of these functions, like they have in these two, f of 1, that you solve that part first. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks.